What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me for our live stream tonight. It is Wednesday, September 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern time zone. And if you're joining me from some other part of the world, or you're watching this as it's have been recorded, welcome. Glad to have you guys on this discussion tonight. We're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 3s, and we're going to be giving some attention to 3s, and we're going to ask the question, how can 3s sometimes be the problem? Or we could say the good, the bad, and the ugly of Type 3. I've done live streams on some of the other types. We started at 9, we've worked our way down to 3, and then in the coming weeks we'll do Type 2 and Type 1. So we're going to spend some time on 3s. How are you the problem? And tomorrow I'll have a video coming out. This will be, available as soon as the live stream's over, but I'll have a video coming out tomorrow, like the story of your life for Type 3s. And that comes from some of the insights from this book, Deep Living with the Enneagram by Dr. Roxanne Howell Murphy. Good book. So we're going to be giving you some special attention tonight and tomorrow, and then in a couple of days I'll have a little cartoon video come out summarizing all 10 of these. So if for whatever reasons you don't want to keep track of all these, they'll be out in a cartoon in a couple of days. So feel free to use the chat feature. I'll try to interact with you if I can. We'll just chat, talk, answer questions, ask questions, whatever's on your mind. If you got some 3s that you love, that you live with, and you're trying to better understand them, and maybe they've got you frazzled or you're frustrated by them, tonight's the night to let it all out. Let's growl and bark at 3s. They're big enough, they can handle it. And let's see, what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, if you're new to my channel, make sure you stop by my website, tomlahue.com. I do offer Enneagram relationship coaching. If I can help in any way, come alongside you. There's 3-week sessions, 6 weeks, more. You can do single appointments, whatever. I'm available. And also I have a lot of online on-demand courses, always adding to those. And if you use the coupon code BEPRESENT, all capital letters, BEPRESENT 35% off on on-demand classes. I've got 2 live Zoom classes scheduled coming up in January. The Enneagram coaching, which is by far the most popular program I offer, the Enneagram coaching course, 6 weeks long, and then the Enneagram relationship coaching, which is probably the second most popular program I offer. So both of those are certificate programs. If you are interested in knowing more about Enneagram coaching, those would be great places to start. Coming up in January, so sign up. I'd love to have you in either one of those or both of those classes. Okay, so let's talk about 3s. We call them the achievers, the performers. And I always think about 3s and 4s, how interesting it is they're right next to each other, because they do need to lean into each other. You could think of it as like there's an argument going on between 3 and 4. The external is what matters most. And then the 4, the internal, is what matters most. And obviously we need both. We need to hear, our internal voice and know what we really want in life and know ourselves. But we also need to be aware of how we're coming across and how we're being perceived by others. So it's very important that we focus on our external manner as well. So very important. So let's look at the 10 things that might make living with 3s challenging sometimes. And let's start with number 1, success oriented. So 3s tend to be very success oriented. And, you might be interested and ask, like, well, what areas of your life are you concerned about being successful in? And typically it's, the obvious ones like school or work or sports, somewhere where you get a lot of feedback and a lot of interaction, a lot of applause, attention. And of course, 3s sometimes can sort of disengage if they're not getting that response that they would like, if they're not getting the attention or the positive attention that they may want. They might disengage and become sort of complacent or apathetic, and in that way look a little bit like a 9, being physically present but no longer engaged. 9's kind of disengaged in life, and so a 3 could become very disengaged if they don't feel like they're being successful, or they feel like there's there's no way that they could be successful as others. They can't be the best, right? So success oriented type threes are highly driven by success, which can sometimes be perceived as, single mindedness, but in a negative way. Like, you need to be here with your family, but you're focused on your real estate business, and that's pulling your attention away, and that can make you hard to live with if people feel like they're always fighting for your attention, or trying to bring you back to where they are. And so you could come across as a little bit superficial in this way, like surface level. Think fours, they're the basement, and threes are kind of the showroom, and so finding that balance. And also threes tend to focus on themselves, where twos tend to focus on others. And so as a three, learning to focus more on others, learning to tap into your inner person and hear, your own voice. These are very good wings for a three to have, and good directions for you to move in. So success oriented, everybody loves it. Success, everybody loves it, right? Everybody's proud of you. But realize that, and often in these contests that we get ourselves into, somebody's a winner and then everybody else is kind of a loser. And, you hate to be the loser, but are you leaving a bunch of losers behind? As you win and win and win, what does that make everybody else? And you think everybody's going to, admire you for your success, but what you may find is they just envy you and sort of sit on the sidelines hoping you fail. And maybe you're okay with that. I would hate it, but maybe you're okay with that. Number one, success oriented. Let's just say two, success oriented. So focused on being successful that maybe you aren't coming across as genuine. Twos can be a little bit like this. So focused on being nice that they aren't necessarily being genuine. And then you have fours being so genuine that they may not end up a success, and they may not come across as kind at all. So learning to balance, being kind, being successful, at the same time being genuine. All of those would be great. If we could incorporate all of that and have an equal balance on all those values. Number two, the adaptable persona. And guys, feel free to jump in the chat anyway. I'd love to hear from you. But number two, adaptable persona. So adaptable. Well, that's good. Means that you can kind of fit in whatever situation you're in. You read the room, you read the audience, and you know what you need to do in order to, make that sale or to impress. It's just, why is that so important? What do you really get out of this? What do you really get? You get, a certificate, an award, you get some kind of trophy, you get some acknowledgement from people. That's great. But then what? Off to the next contest, without really taking the time to enjoy or feel satisfied from winning the last contest. How many more times do we need to do this till you prove yourself, so to speak? So they may adapt their persona to suit what they believe others expect or admire, which could come across as a little bit inauthentic to some. If you're willing to change jerseys halfway through the game in order to wear the winning team's jersey, well, that's going to feel kind of, icky to the other people, not only on your team, but even the people in the stands watching. So what would you not negotiate? Is everything negotiable? Is there anything that you wouldn't, that's just your convictions? What are your convictions? Are you so adaptable and so able to move with the current, that it may at times create some difficulties in your relationships, as people think, where's your soul? Don't you have a soul? Okay, so number one, success oriented. Two, success oriented. Two, maybe being too adaptable um, to the crowd, or too adaptable to your audience, playing to your audience, which does work in its own way. But again, there could be some repercussions that maybe you haven't considered. Okay, and then number three, your competitive nature. your competitive nature. Comparing yourself. To be a three means you're comparing yourself. Actually, twos, threes, and fours, all in that worth and value group, are all, in a sense, comparing themselves. How do you know if you have significance if it's not in relationship to everyone else? In other words, think of it like this: there's a continuum, and actually, we need both of these. But threes kind of overemphasize one end, and sixes kind of overemphasize the other. So think, I need to belong. Every one of us needs to belong. We need the feeling that we're a part of something. The old cheer song, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And we all have that sense that we want to belong. Think sixes, right? But then on the other end of this, we all have this need for significance. We want to believe that we have something unique to contribute and something unique to offer. And it's important that we be balanced, that we are willing to join in and belong, while at the same time it's okay to stand out, be unique, and be special. But balance, I think, is the key here. And as a three, your competitive nature could feel like at times it's leaving everybody else behind. The rest of us aren't necessarily trying to compete with you. We're just, doing our job or doing our best. And then you maybe make this into a competition when it really wasn't intended to be a competition. And you would say, well, what's the opposite of this? Like, what would be the alternative? Isn't everything a competition? Isn't every job or there's always winners and losers? Aren't we always in competition? I would say that a lot of us think in terms more of collaboration, like we're collaborating with others and creating something together, and we want everyone to succeed. And that may feel kind of hollow or, lame or fake or phony to some of you, but I don't know. Maybe it's us. I don't know. But probably there's good balance here of allowing yourself to look at life a little more competitively, while at the same time, if that's your bent, then how could you be more collaborative? And think, three's competitive, six is collaborative. So again, kind of that line, trying to find a little bit of balance. So as a three, you probably need to move toward collaborating more, and there's your two wing, right? And sixes, you might need to move a little more to at times competitive, and nines too. So there need to be the best. Ugh, that probably sounds great to you, to be the best. Why wouldn't you want to be the best? Um, Notice immediately with best, you're comparing yourself, right? You're looking at how others are doing rather than just doing what you want to do. This is where an eight would be very confused by a three, like, and frustrated. Maybe a one too. The anger types would probably get really frustrated over this, because why do you need to compare yourself with others? Why can't you just do what you do without the need to, how am I scoring here, or what do people think about this, or am I ahead of them? And you can see why threes and fours end up the villains often in the modern action movie. You would think the eights would be the villains and the three would be the hero, but it's usually exactly the opposite. Usually threes are the villains and eights are usually the hero in the story. And part of it has to do with this idea here of, playing to the crowd while simultaneously working behind the scenes, in sort of a deceptive way to further your own agenda at the expense of other people. And that wiring, sets you up, if you're not careful, to be the villain in the story. Let me give you an example. Okay, think of Beauty and the Beast. I think I think Belle is probably a four wing five. She could be a five, but she's probably a four wing five. The Beast, my opinion, he's an eight, and Gaston is a three. And there's a good example of what I'm talking about. And then a lot of Marvel movies, threes and fours as villains. Interesting stuff. So competitive nature. I gotta win, you gotta lose. Second is first loser, right? There need to be the best, might be interpreted by others as a lack of collaboration or as you want me to lose. Do you want me to lose? Well, you wouldn't say that out loud, would you? If you're a 3, would you say out loud, Tom, I hope you lose? I don't think you would, but that's what it might feel like to the people on your team is like you really kind of want us to lose. Why can't you help us win? See, this is where it gets fun and exciting when 3s can relax the need to be the best. They are then free to make everybody else better. Yeah, that's when it gets exciting. You start to find your purpose in life with ideas like this. Like when I don't need to prove my worth and value so much, I'm more able to give worth and value to other people and to my organization. As long as it's about you, that's a very small, you know, that's a very small object of for the focus of your attention. But as soon as you can get the focus off of you and how you're doing and focus that attention on improving everyone else, their performance and the environment that you're in, now you're really adding worth and value, which isn't that what you're after all along. So beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. All right. So number 1, too success oriented. Number 2, too adaptable. Number 3, too competitive. See, this is why nobody likes you right here. You might think, how could they not like me? I'm the most likable person. I work really hard to be a likable person, especially 3-wing 2s. Usually like ENFJs and 3-wing 4s, a little less likable, usually INTJs. I'm sure there's some other Myers-Briggs types in there too, but yeah, 3-wing 2s, the charm are really impossible not to like, but maybe I don't know the real you. Maybe you don't know the real you. If I really knew the real you, yeah, you might not be as likable as you are on the surface. And that's kind of the whole point of this Enneagram thing is to get beneath the surface, where the real cooking, happens in the kitchen. So number 1, too success oriented. Number 2, too adaptable, phony, fake, false, right? That's what people might perceive. Like you're just being an actor. You're up there, you're a stuffed shirt on a stage, playing to the crowds and saying whatever the teleprompter tells you to say. That's not real. That's not authentic. That's not genuine. Okay. Number 3, too competitive. What? You want me to lose? You want me to lose? Why do you want me to lose? Why can't we both win? Why can't you help me win? All right. Number 4, overworked. Overworked. Okay. So type 3s could be workaholics. It's giving you something, right? That all that work and all that effort on that treadmill of work, it's giving you something back. Is it really worth everything it's costing you? Hey, somebody's at the door. Is it really worth everything it's costing you to be a workaholic? What else? Okay, let me just ask you this. If you weren't a workaholic, okay, if you weren't, like let's say you could just push a button and not be a workaholic right now. If you weren't a workaholic, what would you do with your time? What would you do with your time? Do you start to feel anxious with that? Does that make you feel a little bit, a little anxious, a little off, a little icky? Let's think about that. If you decided that this week, this month, you are no longer a workaholic, what would you do with all of your energy and all of your time? What would you focus on that feels meaningful to you? What would you do just to do it because you like it, not because it's, the job? Um, yeah, good to see you, Uguay. I'm glad that you are joining us tonight. Okay, so overworked workaholics. By the way, social 9s are the second most likely people to be workaholics on the Enneagram. Everybody says, "Oh, 9s are lazy." That's not their sin. Their sin is sloth. It's different than lazy. It's like sometimes the difficulty in knowing your own agenda and knowing what you really want, hearing your own voice. That's the sloth. And the social 9 loses themselves to the organizations they belong to and could look a lot like a 3, um, becoming a workaholic. So the need to go to work, often prioritizing tasks and goals over relationships. Oh, look at what's right next to you. Remember your other wing? 2. You're prioritizing tasks and projects over relationships. And look at right next to you too. Prioritizing people and relationships sometimes over tasks. See how there's balance here? We want to balance with that two wing and say, yeah, sometimes the two's right. Sometimes it's the people that matter, not the task. And I've lost myself in the task, and now I'm paying for it in my relationships. So I need to make my relationships a priority again. I need to maybe set some relationship goals. I'll tell you, a lot could improve in your life as a nine if you could make yourself set relaxation goals. Just decide like, okay, I need to have more downtime. I need to, and you could say, I'm going to meditate or pray. I'm going to do some spiritual work. I'm going to get out into nature and just relax. Not 5K hikes. I'm not talking about pushing yourself again, but like make yourself sit out in a boat, and sit on a lake or sit out on a dock. Maybe take up some kind of artwork, painting something, some kind of pottery or anything, musical instruments, something that taps into your creative side, something that you would do just because you enjoy it. And even when you don't enjoy it, to like do it until I get to where I enjoy it. Okay, so overworked. Um, it can make you sometimes like a seven, distant and unavailable for relationships. Sevens can be distant and unavailable for relationships because, they're always somewhere else in their mind. And as a three, if you're a workaholic, then you maybe find it difficult to sit and relax with your family, for example, and just have a good time. You may be like, I need to be more productive. I could be right now more productive. I need to go back to work. Constantly checking your day planner. And you guys said, what's a day planner? I get it. Like your calendar on your phone. Okay. All right. So, number one, too success oriented. Number two, too adaptable to others and their agendas. Number three, too competitive. Number four, overworked. These are the reasons why people don't like you. Okay, so we're doing this with all the types. Don't get offended. We're just going through and kind of looking at some of the dark stuff on all of us. Just a reminder: if you haven't been to my website in a while, I do offer Enneagram coaching, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, and more. Single appointments. If you just kind of want to talk about some issue going on in your life, or Enneagram is such a helpful tool for helping relationships. I do a lot of couples work, and relationship coaching. I'd love to help you guys, if I can. If you feel like you're stuck in life or stuck in your marriage or relationship, things aren't going well, please reach out to me. You don't have to do this alone. You shouldn't do this alone. And also, I have on-demand classes, lots of them, and more coming. Use the coupon code, all capital letters, be present 35 for 35% off any of those on-demand classes. And I have a couple of live Zoom classes coming up as well. And I would love for you to jump in one of those. Enneagram coaching's coming up in January. Enneagram relationship coaching's coming up. I teach those live on Zoom just like this. It's a lot of fun. All right. So number five, the fear of failure. And this is kind of the dominant core fear, right, of threes, is of being a failure or being perceived as a failure, being a person with no worth or little value. And you might even, in all of your comparing of people, sort of look down on certain kinds of people. Meaning you might look down your nose. You may not want to say this out loud. It may be embarrassing for you to think about this, or for me to even say it out loud. But maybe like, you would say, I would never be the kind of person that would, and then fill in the blank, shop at a Goodwill, for example, which I love Goodwill. Goodwill's a lot of fun. I always find funny, weird stuff there. But you may be like, I can't be the kind of person that shops at Walmart, that buys their clothes at Walmart, or that drives an old car with rust on it. Or I could never be the kind of person that sits around and eats a bag of potato chips on the couch watching television, watching Judge Judy, or watching Jerry Seinfeld or something ridiculous like this. I couldn't be this kind of person that is missing a tooth or is bald, or you get the idea. So, fear of failure or being perceived by others as the sort of person that is a failure, overweight, or, there's probably a lot of these where you just kind of, think, oh, and that's not the kind of person that I want to become. Their deep fear of failure might be seen as an inability to admit mistakes or vulnerabilities. So that's a good question. Are you able to share, vulnerability with people? You think they're going to not like you for it, but chances are they're probably going to feel much more connected to you if you did. Like if you walked in and you said, oh man, guys, sometimes I feel like I'm the biggest screw up in the room. Like, can you say that? Could you share something like that? Like, oh man, I was trying so hard to accomplish this or that, but I think I just blew it. I think I just ruined my chances. Yeah, I lost my temper with the client, and what an idiot. I feel like such an idiot. Maybe sharing that kind of stuff, you'd think, why would somebody do that? You're not presenting yourself well, but you are presenting that you're a human who makes mistakes, who screws things up. And, the rest of us relate to that because we do. We all make mistakes. We all sometimes say or do the wrong thing. And it would be interesting to see you as somebody that is able to share your faults and failures as well. Now, I don't think use this as a strategy. I'm not saying threes, look at me. I'm not saying that you should become strategic by sharing vulnerabilities in order to win people over. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is can you let your guard down enough to trust the people in your life that they've got your back? And if you don't, then maybe you're surrounding yourself with the wrong kind of people. My wife posted something on Facebook the other day. It says, remember, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. I thought that's really good. Yeah, if you don't get it, think about it for a minute. Okay, so fear of failure. We're all going to make mistakes. It's easier if you just own it. It'd be easier if you just said, yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not always going to win. And that's okay. In my head, it feels like it's bad, but in reality, my objective self knows that this is just part of being human. And if I share those things with people, the people that move away from me were probably never really my friends anyway. So why do I need to impress them? They're not really for me. So why do I care so much what they think? Okay, number 6, too image conscious. Too image conscious, focused on the old image, how you're being perceived. Let me just say before I read anything else, let me say this statement, okay? And this could be a huge, huge turning point in the way you think. This one idea, okay? Look at this. I get chills. I get chills teaching. I get chills with information. I love information because it feels like it challenges us and helps us grow. So let me give you this one thought and see if this doesn't change something in the way you show up in life, especially if you're a 3, okay? But it's good for all of us. And that is, listen to this, there is a huge difference between wanting to be a great person and wanting other people to see you as a great person. There's a huge difference here, okay? Life changing, life altering difference. Which is more important to you? To be a good person, or to be a competent person, or an able person? Or is it more important to be seen as a great person, to be perceived as a great person? You guys that you grew up in church, you know the Bible. Remember, the disciples were always fighting and jockeying to be seen as great people. And they even asked Jesus once, which one of us, is going to sit on your right and the other on your left when you come into your kingdom? And they were arguing all the time about who's the greatest. You hear the est on that, I'm greater than you, I'm better than you. And Jesus said, if you want to be great, then you got to become like this child. So if you truly want to be great, there's a difference between wanting to be great and wanting to be perceived as the greatest. Huge difference. So let's make it our goal to be great people, to be people that bring value and depth and richness and joy and enthusiasm and all the great things in life. Let's be people who aspire to be great more than we care about being perceived as great. Huge difference. So image conscious, a strong concern with maintaining a certain image can sometimes be perceived as vanity or a lack of real depth or real genuine self-expression. So, you'd be seen by some people as being a surface dweller, not really deep. Where's your soul? What do you really care about? Where's your authenticity and your genuineness? And if everybody wears this or perceives this label as being the best, then do you have to chase after that? Do you really like it? Is this really what you want, or is are you getting something by driving that label around, or wearing that label on your jacket, or wearing that label on your shoes? Why is it so important to you? Because if you really didn't care, okay, you might say, I don't care. I don't care what people think. Okay, if you really didn't care, then you'd probably just wear clothes that were comfortable or clothes that fit the dress code at where you work. You wouldn't care if it had a certain label on it, or if it was designed, by some fancy name brand. Let's look at your purse, for example. Could you use a Target purse for $35? Could you? Would you let yourself do that? Is that okay? Or do you have to use one of those $600 purses, or more, $1,000 purses? And I don't care if you have one of those. I don't care if you like those. Just notice this about yourself. Like, could I use a $45 purse from Target that does exactly the same thing a $600 purse from the mall does? And guys, we are in a generation right now of $600 purses that don't got no money in them. Okay, that's the generation you live in. Is you got a $600 purse, but you don't have any cash in the purse because all your money's used up for all this nonsense and stuff that we think we need to have. And right now on Instagram and Facebook, I'm doing a little 3-part series on, pushing back on the gluttony. I'm a 7. This is my sin, gluttony. I get it, right? Wanting more and needing the crap you don't have. But I think 7s don't necessarily need the name brand. We just need more, other, different clones. It's fine. Just try them all. So, image conscious, too image conscious. Oh, Muffy, do you think that they'll have cigars for us in the lounge? Too image. That was my Mr. Howell. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Mr. Howell's probably a 3 wing 4, something like that. All right. So number 1, too success oriented. Number 2, too adaptable. Number 3, too competitive. Number 4, too overworked. Number 5, a fear of failure. And number 6, too image conscious. Okay. Number 7, impatience. Impatience. In their drive to achieve, they might become impatient with others who they perceive as less motivated or efficient, especially 3 wing 4s, because that NT thing, is all about efficiency. If you're an INTJ or an ENTJ, NT is all about efficiency. And you could be very frustrated with 1s, for example, who are holding up the works to make sure we get all the forms done right. Or you could be very frustrated with 5s who are taking their time and delaying, or 9s who are waiting on that email. I'll turn it in as soon as Margaret sends that email to me. So impatient, pushing, okay, let's go here. Okay. I want to help you. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I am at least studying. Okay. And let me give you this thought. I told you, one thought that might change your life. What was that thought? Great versus being perceived as great. Let me give you another thought that could change your life. Everything could change with this one thought. Okay. There's a huge difference between being a driven person, driven, got to get up, got to get to work, got to get those results, got to get those forms done, got to make that sale, got to work 60 hours a week, got to rush home, okay. There's a huge difference between being a driven person, and you probably pride yourself on being driven. I'm purpose driven, I'm goal driven, I'm, focus driven, whatever kind of slimy, crappy name you want to put on it. Driven, there's a huge difference between being a driven person and being a called person. A called person. Called, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing what resonates with my heart. I've checked in with myself and I have looked above and I've looked beside and I've looked within. I've taken the time to listen to the higher voice, to listen to the inner voice. And I know that what I'm doing today is what I was put on earth to do. Therefore, I don't need to rush or to try to prove anything to anyone because I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it because it's what I'm on earth to do. It's what I'm called to do. Now, if you think, Tom, you're being too religious here, okay, take religion out of it for a second. Just think about the Latin word that we used to use for your job, your career. It was the word vocation, vocation, voca, voice, vocal cords. In other words, calling, a voice. Someone or something has called you toward what you're doing with your life. It's your vocation, it's your calling, it's living your purpose out in life. And when you're doing that, it's not fake, it's not phony, and you don't need or have to rely on the approval, applause, and you don't care about the competition because I'm not in it against them. I'm in it to follow the purpose and the design of my heart. And that right there, I don't care who you are. That is good, good information. It's so good. I need to take notes on myself. I'm going to forget all this because it's so good. It's so rich and so helpful. And yet sometimes with threes, I just can't get their attention long enough to communicate this stuff to them because they tend to look at the Enneagram as, oh, let me learn this personality tool so that I can leverage it to be even more compelled and impulsed in the way I'm already compelled and impulse. And what it needs to do is it needs to challenge those impulses, not further them, but challenge them and say, these impulses that we're talking about, what impulses? To be too success oriented, too adaptable, too competitive, that those impulses are not always working for your benefit. It's not always moving you toward what you really want. It's really not. You say, come on, Tom, what? You're talking about not being successful? I want to be successful. Okay, I'm glad you went there. Chills. I'm getting chills from all these thoughts. Okay, I'm glad you went there. You really want to be successful? Okay, let me push back on you just a little bit and ask you a couple questions. In what area of your life do you want to be successful? Hmm? Yeah, that's what I thought. I get tomatoes. I get crickets. I get nothing. Okay? What area in your life do you want to be successful in? And you say, "Well, all of it." Really? You really want to be successful in every area of your life. That's your goal. Okay. If that were true, then let me just ask you, how's your spiritual life? Is it successful? How's your hobbies and interests? Tell me about your hobbies. No, don't tell me about the competitions you're in. Tell me about your hobbies. How is the stamp collecting going? Are you enjoying the stamp collecting? Are you really? Are you enjoying, the little the little jet ski that you take out on the weekends? Are you enjoying that? How are your hobbies and interests going? Let me ask you this. How's your community life? No, no, no. Remember, you said you want every area of your life to be successful. Okay. Tell me about how much time you're spending every week with your friends, doing friend stuff, building and investing in your relationships with your community. You got to be going out to the movies with your friends, right? You're going out to the movies, you're going out to lunch, you're spending time getting to know other people and opening your life up to them. How's that going for you? What about your health? Are you spending a lot of time focused on being successful in your health, or do you get enough rest? Let's just start there. Are you getting enough rest? It's literally the easiest thing to do for your health, right? You really have to do nothing. All you have to do is stop and just sit back for a minute, and then the rest will just take over. You don't even have to work at it. It's the easiest thing in the world to sit down and rest. So you must be very rested because you want to be successful in every area of your life. You certainly wouldn't neglect your health in order to gain wealth, would you? Because if you do, you know what's going to happen? You're going to end up using all of your health later up to try to you're going to lose all your wealth to try to regain your health. So are you really trying to be successful in every area of your life? Because my guess is you're not at all. Like, how's your marriage? How is it really? Is it good? Are you and your husband friends? Are you? Are you good friends? You spending a lot of time together? On average, let me just one last punch to the face, okay? Do you know on average, in order to have a healthy marriage, on average, to have a healthy marriage, research indicates that you and your husband, you and your wife, need about 15 hours together time every week. Now that's not watching television together, or it's interacting, talking, dating, sexual relationship, 15 hours a week in order to have a healthy marriage. Are you doing that 15 hours a week with your partner, your spouse? And then guess what? If you're going to have a healthy family life, in other words, you're relating well to all your kids and or grandkids or whatever, you need another 15 hours a week time with the family to have a healthy family life. That's 30 hours a week. If you have a family, if you're a guy like me with kids and a wife, that's 30 hours a week on average to have a healthy marriage and a healthy family. Is that your priority? Are you as focused on being successful in this arena of your life as you are in your work? If so, great. That's fantastic. I would love to hear your story and hear how you've managed to balance your life so well. But most of you guys, you don't have to tell me. I already know. And look, when you spend 80% of your energy on 50% of your life, it's no wonder you end up 60% satisfied with life. And I can't tell you how many threes I've talked to that are killing it in the workplace, crushing it. I mean, they are making great money, they have great jobs, they're highly respected, and they are killing it in terms of being successful at work. And I'll say to them this one question: how fulfilled are you in life? And then there's the crickets, there's the tomatoes come flying, because they'll say, I'm like 60% fulfilled in life. Okay, so you're killing yourself on a treadmill, it's not working, is it? So something needs to change, doesn't it? You can't keep doing the same thing and think that something in your life is going to change. Um, okay, where were we? Impatience. Impatience. Their drive to achieve might become impatient with others they perceive as less motivated or less efficient. By the way, threes, every type is motivated for sure. You're probably the most obvious in your motivation. Like sevens are probably the most obvious as impulsive people. But every type is very impulsive, very compelled, and our motivations are very predictable. And every one of us is highly motivated. It's just not everyone's as highly motivated to be in competition and to be perceived as a success as you are. Ones are very motivated to do the right thing and be responsible and be productive and be on the side of good and right and not be lazy. Nines are very motivated to have peace and harmony and understanding and to make space for others, very motivated toward comfort and tranquility in life. Every type is motivated. You're not the only motivated person, but you have this amazing motivation for results and to make an impact and share that. Do that. Please do that, but relax a little bit on yourself. Okay. You're already loved and cared for, and you're already an important person before you ever get those results. And relax a little bit on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. And then share your motivations with the rest of us because we have gotten stuck in a rut and we need to hear your voice say, "Come on, Tom, you could push yourself. You could get to the next level, Tom. If you would quit living in this panic in this state of fear, you need to be that voice for the rest of us, but you can't when it's all about you being a success. It's hard for you to share your three goodness with the rest of us if you have to be the most valuable person on the team." Okay, so impatience. Number eight, a difficulty slowing down. And maybe even just watching a video like this is too much for you. You got to put it on speed 3 or speed 4 because it's too difficult to just slow down. Now look at look, you're connected to 9. Come on. Get into that 9. You say nine's what I disintegrate to. Let me say it this way. 9 is what you will disintegrate to, the unhealthy aspects of 9, if you don't learn to listen to the wisdom of 9. Think of it like this. The 9's up there looking down on the 3 and saying, if you don't learn to take a break every now and again, you're going to end up broken. Look at me. I can take a break. I'm a 9. I can take a break. I know how to relax. I know how to just be. I know how to zone out. I know how to let some goals wait till tomorrow. You need to do a little bit of that, or you're going to end up really looking like a 9, like completely disengaged. This is such good stuff. I wish I could somehow get a hold of everybody and get this information in their head. But you have such wonderful information, and sometimes you can't even give it to people. It's like they would rather scroll through their phone, watching people yelling at each other in a McDonald's over an order that's wrong. Like, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, a car accident. Oh, and you're trying to give the best wisdom in the world, and people just look at you like, difficulty slowing down. Do you feel guilty if you take time off? Like you should be more productive? Do you feel guilty? Yeah, they don't like to read books. That's true. Yeah, reading books, take your time. Don't always rush through a book. Take your time and really highlight and think about it. That's what I do. Take time to really wrestle with the ideas and develop them in your head. Difficulty slowing down. The rapid pace and focus on productivity in your life can make it challenging for more, look at this word, contemplative. You want to be a success in everything in life. Are you successful at being contemplative? Can you slow down to pray or meditate or just have a conversation with somebody, like a real meaningful conversation, or just watch a movie? Could you sit down and watch the Rocky series all the way through, or the Rambo series or whatever, Star Wars, anything, pick a series that Godfather, something you haven't watched in a long time or you've never seen, and just let yourself relax. Do you feel guilty? That's not necessarily a voice you should listen to always. Sometimes you need to tell yourself, oh my goodness, I'm such a three. I'm trying to sit down and watch a movie with my family, and I can't even relax. Immediately, I start thinking about my to do list. Immediately, I start thinking about what did other people mean when they thought this about me, when they said this about, oh my goodness, I'm such a three. I need to just let this stuff go and return my focus back to the present. Be present to life. Okay. Number 9. Avoidance of negative emotions. Now, there's one I can get behind. I'm a 7, so I've got the same problem. Type 3s might avoid or suppress negative emotions to maintain their image of success, which could hinder deeper emotional connections. Maybe not wanting to really face what's actually going on around you, or maybe having to have a difficult conversation with that person that, across the office. It could be a lot of things. I think emotions in general could be difficult for threes because even though you're in the emotional group, you're sort of cut off from your center and you tend to stay focused in thinking and doing, you know, and then you have to like come back to your feelings. What might be a good exercise for this is put on some sad music. Like I love Dan Gibson's Solitudes. I love these things. I have Amazon Music. You can have, you can find it on Spotify or Apple. Just type in Dan Gibson's Solitudes. It's like nature and music. And whenever I listen to it, it kind of makes me feel a little melancholy, which is good for me to slow down. And then I tell you what, if you really want to take it to the next level, get out a photo album of the past or scroll through your photos, and just let yourself remember. Remember the good, the bad, the growing up, your family, whatever. Let yourself like tap into those warm feelings. That's a good thing. Good thing for you. Number 10. Okay, before I say number 10, let's go through all of them again. Number 1, too success oriented. Number 2, too adaptable, so you seem kind of fake maybe. Number 3, too competitive. What, you want me to lose? Number 4, too overworked. You need to know when to take a break. Number 5, the fear of failure. Number 6, too image conscious. Number 7, too impatient with others and other people's, performance. Number 8, difficulty slowing down. Number 9, the avoidance of negative emotions. Remember, this is a list of why sometimes it's hard to get along with you. I know most of the time you're awesome. Most of the time you're easy to get along with, but every once in a while, this might be what the problem is. Number 10, a strong need for affirmation. Let's read it. The need for external validation can sometimes come off as needy or as lacking self confidence. I can guarantee you that if you work with an 8, for example, they're going to be frustrated, and probably a 1. They're going to be frustrated when you're supposed to do a job and you're constantly tooting your own horn, or you're constantly, what's the word? I want to say placating to the crowds, but that's not the right word. Pandering to the crowds, or sending out your sonar so that you can get the response back that you need, where everybody says, wow, great job. And it's not wrong that you need that. Realize that, like, that is a real legitimate need we have as humans, the need for significance, the feeling that we are significant. But other people might perceive this in a very negative way. I would think an 8 and a 1 it comes first to my mind. 5s maybe as well. They might be thinking things like, just do what you do. Why do you always need everybody to review it positively? Like, why do you need that? You shouldn't need that. In fact, the people around you that should be giving you the admiration that you deserve and need might actually be withholding it from you, thinking they're helping you. And this is corny, it's weird, but I've seen it. Okay. Even though you're constantly like, how did I do? How did I do? Tell me about my performance, right? The people around you may withhold that information from you because they might see it as a weakness that you need this kind of affirmation. And I'm not going to contribute to your weakness. You need to decide to do things on your own and not need everybody's approval or their applause. So I'm not going to give you that, thinking that they're doing something good for you, helping you be stronger. But in reality, you're probably either going to end up turning up your intensity and working even more, or pandering even more. Tell me how I did. Tell me how I did. Tell me how I did. Or you could, like a 9, just turn off and just go dark and give up. So if you live with a 3, please give them affirmation. Tell them you did a great job. Man, I was sitting here watching this basketball game, and honestly, I kind of lost track of the time, and I looked over and I saw you playing, and man, the way you were hustling, the energy you gave, I was so proud of you. Just say it. Please say it. If you live with a 3, you're married to a 3, you have a child that's a 3, you have a dad that's a 3, make sure you intentionally come alongside them and say, hey, I noticed the effort that you were giving to this. And I just want to thank you. I appreciate it. And you knocked it out of the park. That speech you gave, you nailed it. I was so inspired by it. Find something that you can appreciate, that you can admire, and then share it. Please. Look, we're all wired differently. We all have different needs, and live in compassion with each other and help people by understanding what they need and then freely sharing that. Like, think, what is the never ever behavior for a 3? I think it's never ignore a 3. What happens if you ignore a 3? They're going to double down and try harder and become even more like this list, impulsed and compelled and overworked, or they're going to give up and quit and feel defeated and go really dark and maybe into substance abuse and who knows what else. So please recognize what they're doing and just recognize them as persons and find things to compliment and appreciate about them and give that admiration. And think about it like this: if I don't give them the admiration, they may leave and find somebody that will, somebody that may not be all that good for them. So, wow, great stuff. Such good stuff. So, there's 10 things about 3s that we might point out that in some ways could be perceived as strengths, but also could be really causing some barriers and obstacles in your life, and particularly in your relationships and in your overall sense of fulfillment and purpose in life. Wow, good stuff. So, I'm here, guys. If I can help in any way, please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll talk about it. You're not in this by yourself. There's plenty of people around you that care about you. And if you want to reach out, I'd love to do some appointments with you. Um, and I think that's it. So thank you guys. Appreciate you all. I'm going to sign off now, and I'll see you next time. So, whatever your type is, let's make sure that we're all being present to life. And take care, guys. Have a great night. I'll see you next time.